Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar, How a Blind Person Uses a Website. And our first speaker today is Jason Taylor, who is our Chief Innovation Strategist here.
Thanks, Bethany. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Very pleased to have Joseph De Niro here from Helen Keller Services to really be the primary focus of this webinar. I'm going to be acting sort of as an MC and an interviewer to talk to Joe about his experience, how he uses his screen reader for navigating websites, and hopefully we'll educate people on that process. I wanted to first maybe get Joseph to introduce himself and what he does at Helen Keller Services.
Thank you, Jason. So my name is Joseph De Niro. I am the Assistant Program Director of Assistive Technology Services at Helen Keller Services for the Blind. Helen Keller Services for the Blind provides a multitude of services to blind and visually impaired individuals from early childhood all the way up to seniors. So we provide areas that we provide services in are vocational rehabilitation therapy, orientation mobility training, job placement, low vision, and my area, which is assistive technology, where we teach individuals how to use computers and mobile devices with assistive technology. And when I'm not wearing that hat at Helen Keller, I also am the head of the digital accessibility testing team here at UsableNet, where we provide user testing to the UsableNet clients as part of their comprehensive services that they provide to help their clients have the most accessible website.
Thanks, Joe. If you're comfortable, it would be, I think, probably beneficial to people that are on the webinar. Could you give us a little background of your journey to sort of, the roles that you play today?
Yep. So 30 years ago, I was working in the hotel industry. I'd been working in that industry for about 10 years, and I, at the time, was looking to get basically lose glasses and get laser surgery. And during that that pursuit of getting the laser surgery, doctors indicated or told me that I was diagnosed with an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a degenerative eye disease that eventually leads to blindness. So that was 1994. In 2002, I started to use a cane. In 2005, when I went back to school for computer science, I started to use assistive technology, initially using Zoom text. I then transitioned probably at this point about 9 years ago to being a JAWS user. So now I'm a screen reader user exclusively.
Great. And I mean, what I hope that the people on this webinar will get from Joe is, obviously Joe spends a lot of time actually, introducing people who have got to, use screen readers for the first time to the technology and how to use it. So he's, I've done these sessions before. He does a great job of sort of building that knowledge up for people to understand, like, how does he use a screen reader essentially to interpret the digital world. So we're going to primarily focus mostly on that. I'm going to start with just an overall approach that you might want to think about. What is Joe as a user? What is he thinking, and what is he expecting from a website or a web page or a web application when he first comes to it? So you can sort of understand the sort of general hierarchy for him in terms of importance, in terms of achieving what you might want Joe to do on your website, whether that's find someone can purchase it, or find someone can sign up for a service. But then we're going to focus on the actual main demonstration, Joe using his screen reader, building that sort of base knowledge up for you guys to understand what type of techniques does he use, how does a website interpret back into a voice for him, how is he using that for his advantage in terms of understanding what's going on. And then we're going to show off a sort of a good example and maybe not so good example, so you can understand how potentially if code's not implemented in the right way, it can be frustrating or less enjoyable for Joe as a screen reader user. And then hopefully we'll have a bunch of key takeaways that we can list for you based off that demo. So quickly into the first slide, Bethany, if you can. This is really a slide that I hope if you're thinking about, okay, how does a screen reader user approach a website for the first time? How do I make that experience as good as possible for someone like Joe? That I want that person to be able to, have success in using the website, and also even if it's just a web page or it's a web application, right? And I call this hierarchical, meaning, if Joe comes to a website for the first time, just like any other user, the first thing that you want to understand from that website, and Joe is no different than any other user, is the purpose of the website. And understand what the website capabilities are. Joe's going to introduce to you how he would discover that. The majority of users are obviously visual, and we discover that visually. So what we want to do is help you understand how Joe discovers quickly what's the purpose of the website and what could that website do for him. I think the next thing, which is very important, is thinking about Joe needs to navigate around a website just like we do. I think there's parallels here, right? A website, if you come to an e-commerce website and it works very different than other e-commerce websites, you can easily get confused about what you need to do on the website. Joe is very similar. So looking for logical and consistent layout or functionality, and following traditional trends about how a website works really helps users of assistive technology. If they come to an e-commerce site and it's very similar to another e-commerce site, it's a lot easier for them to use. So, trying to track and make sure that you are using the most common or the best practices for different types of functionality, I think is key for supporting any user, but importantly for someone like Joe's user screen readers. And getting around is probably the most important part for a user, whether again it's someone using assistive tech. But every time you experience someone using an assistive tech, you understand certain things become multiply more important. So, before we get into content and alt images and other types of elements, which I class as very small and focused in terms of regionally focused on a website, get into those pages, get into that functionality, moving through functionality is the most important part of the experience for Joe and any other user. So essentially, making sure that you're focused primarily from top down, which is purpose, structure, consistency, navigation, and then Joe, just like us, cares about the content quality. So the descriptions, the information that's available, error messages if you do something individually wrong, instructions and descriptions of what you need to do to achieve success on that particular website. So I would always encourage people to think of this as hierarchical, and Joe is no different than any other user. It's just that a lot of the times we get away with using our eyes quickly to scan lots of information, and that's not so easy if you've got to listen to every piece of information. And we'll go into that now with Joe actually giving us a demonstration. So, Joe, I think you're going to take over the screen. I think you're going to introduce us to your computer environment, how you have that set up. And then maybe you could just give us a view of how the screen reader is something that you use for everything on your computer, not just websites, as an example.
Yep, I'm going to share my screen now.
Share preview WND, screen sharing meeting controls.
Okay, so my screen is shared now, and yeah, basically, as far as my computer setup goes, the only real difference is that I'm, in addition to uh, all the applications that are on the computer, is that I have the additional application for my screen reader, which is JAWS. So typically, how a screen reader, one way a screen reader would navigate on their computer, say they wanted to go to their browser, they would go to the desktop. So there's a keyboard command to take us to the desktop.
Windows D, folder view list view, Edge Sharp, 17 of 32. To move to items, use the arrow keys.
Okay, so that's telling me that I'm on the desktop, that I'm on the Edge Sharp icon, and that's the 17th of 32 icons on the desktop. So I cut off the screen reader from giving the hint. I could use arrows on here to get around, but as we heard, I have 30 icons on here. So there's a chance if I arrow it around, it would take me a while to get around. So one of the first skills we teach our students on day one of training is to use first letter navigation. So if I know the program that I want to go to, so for example, if I want to go to Google Chrome,
G, Google Chrome, 2 of 32.
I can just hit the letter G and that'll navigate me directly to that icon.
Enter.
And I can activate it by hitting the Enter key.
Selected, blank, address and search bar edit. Blank, type in text, Control+L.
And then when I'm in the browser, it just indicated to me that I'm in the address and search bar. So I could type in an address like Amazon.
AMAZON.com. Enter. Amazon.com. Spend less. Smile more. Google Chrome. Amazon.com. Spend less. Amazon. Amazon.
And now I'm on the Amazon website.
So Joe, I just wanted to just give people a couple of clarifications there, right? Or not just observations, right? This is, one of the things that you're going to be able to see is when Joe actually starts to sort of move through the website, his cursor is going to be highlighted. That's actually for us, so we can see where he is on the website. He obviously doesn't see the cursor highlight. The voice is set to be quite slow right now compared to how Joe uses it. Just again, so that's for people who aren't used to hearing the voice, so sort of can keep up with what the screen reader is actually saying to Joe. He would listen to this at a lot faster rate. And then finally, just the point I wanted to make around, we are very strong advocates that you should, as part of your accessibility process, involve someone like Joe, who's a screen reader user, because it will instantly allow you to document where that person might be struggling and finding barriers, but also maybe document that there is no barriers. So it's a very powerful piece of user testing that you can do. Just one point on that is, as you saw, Joe went into Chrome, and now he's using Chrome to navigate the website. So it's always important to make sure that whatever the user tester is going to use is a browser that you've tested with. So sometimes you might find that someone comes along and says I can do user testing, and they might use Windows, Edge, and JAWS, but you've not tested the website with Windows Edge, which means they could be finding problems which are to do with the browser and not to do with the screen reader. So ensure when you're doing testing with a screen reader user, they're using a setup that you're quite comfortable with in terms from a browser that you've already done testing with at the browser level. So Joe, back over to you to sort of give us a sort of basic world of how you navigate Amazon or any other type of retail site.
So when I'm first teaching students about the web, up until this point in our training, the basic ways that we know how to use navigation is the tab key and the arrow key. So for example, those are the two methods we talk about initially. So I'm going to now use the tab key. I'm going to make sure I'm up at the top of the page.
Amazon.
And then I'm going to tab through the page.
Amazon.com. Spend less, smile more. Link skip to main content.
So first thing is a skip to main content link, which I explained to is a way to get to the main navigation on the page, or the main region of the page where the main content of the page is located. I'm going to continue to tab here.
Banner region, navigation region, Amazon link. Delivering to Brentwood 11,717 update location link.
And I'm continuing to navigate.
Search region, search in combo box, all departments. Select the department you want to search in. To change the selection, use the arrow keys.
Okay, so the screen reader's reading to me, what the purpose of the element is and how to interact with it in some instances. I'm going to continue to tab.
Search Amazon edit. Blank, placeholder, search Amazon, type in text.
And that's the search field.
Go button to activate.
And then that would be the button to search for a product. So,
choose a language for shopping, link.
And I could continue that way. The other way I could navigate is using the arrow keys. So if I go back up to the top of the page.
Amazon.com, spend less.
Whereas the tab key will take us to, basically everything that is in the tab order. The arrow keys is more of a fine-tooth comb that looks at every, goes through every line and reads everything that's on the page, whether or not it's an interactive element or not. So I'm gonna now arrow down through the page.
Link skip to main content. Navigation region. Link Amazon. Visited link delivering to Brentwood 11,717 update location. All. Search in. Combo box collapsed all departments. Search Amazon. Choose a language for shopping. Static text. Escape. Go button. Link choose a language for shopping. Go. Search Amazon edit. Escape. Go button. Link choose a language for shopping. Link hello, sign in. Account and lists. Link returns and orders. Link 0 items in cart. Open menu button.
So I could open that menu up.
Enter. Open menu button. To activate, press enter. Close menu link. Link hello, sign in. List of 31 items. Trending. Link best sellers. Link new releases. Link movers and shakers.
So those are some of the way. So that's the way I could navigate around as well. Is arrows and tabs. But
Amazon.com.
And do you want to touch on anything, Jason, or you want me to?
No, there's two things. One is, so tab order as developers or as owners of the website, right? You can actually change the tab order, and the tab order is quite a powerful way for you to help Joe quickly know what he can do on a page or a website. We're using Amazon. The tab order is correct in meaning like it's sort of taking you through the main, say, functionality that you need to set up to use Amazon. When you get further down into content pages, you could use tab order to, help people go through functionality in the order that you think is the most important. So tab order you can change, and tab order should basically be, hey, how you expect people to quickly discover what they should do, and in which order. Okay. Arrow key is basically sort of like the worst case scenario for Joe. He gets completely lost, and the arrow key is basically a way for him to just listen to every single element in the order of the HTML. Essentially just listen to everything that's there, try and find the thing he's looking for, and then move on. So he's probably going to go into it now. He probably will not use he'd prefer not to use the arrow, because it just takes a long time for him to find what he wants to do. He wants faster ways to understand quickly where he should be on the website. And I think that's where he'll move to next, right, Joe?
Yep. So as Jason mentioned earlier, when a sighted user comes to a website, what they do will just, visually glance around on the website, and then they'll take their mouse pointer and click on the item, the link, or the picture that they want to interact with. There's no real way to replicate that per se using a screen reader, but what we can do is use the structure of the website to help us move around the website quicker. So the first way,
Amazon.
and probably the most important way, is using headings, the headings of the page. And the way I explain it to screen reader users, or my students, when they're first becoming students, is headers are kind of like headlines in a newspaper, right? You read the title of the article in the newspaper, and then under that, you're expecting to read the related article. So that's kind of the expected thing. So now if I navigate by heading on this page,
There are no headings on Escape. Amazon.
let's try that again.
Fresh Home Picks heading level 2.
Okay, so first header it says Fresh Home Picks. And if I down arrow from here to see what's underneath this header,
Link Premium. Link New Arrivals. Link Trending. Link Deals.
so I guess that's related to Fresh
Home Picks
Fresh Home Picks.
New Beats X Kim heading level 2.
So that I'm expecting is about Beats headphones. And if I down arrow,
Link Shop Studio Pro headphones,
which is exactly what I'm anticipating. I'm going to continue down.
Summer Fashion for All heading level 2.
If I down arrow,
Link All Fashion. Link Women's. Link Men's.
so it's all related to that header.
Sign in for the best experience heading level 2.
I'm going to skip that.
Best sellers in clothing, shoes and jewelry heading level 2.
So if I go down from here,
List of 26 items.
so this list of 26 items, and in this list,
Link Graphic Crocs Unisex Adult Classic Clogs. Link Graphic Fruit of the Loom Men's Eversoft Cotton Stay Tucked Crew Tee Shirt. Link Graphic Child and Men's Crew Tee.
so there's going to be a list of things that are what I would anticipate here. So that's one way. There's lots of ways we navigate, so that we can use headings, we can use regions. Pretty much any structure that's built on the website, I have the ability to jump to. So if I'm going to an e-commerce site, and I'm not necessarily sure of what I would like to, or how to maybe navigate to what I want, the product that I want, using traditional navigation, and maybe I'll use the quick navigation key to navigate to the first edit field on the page and see if there is a search field available to me. So those are strategies that allow us to kind of move quickly through a website in an efficient manner.
The other thing, Joe, I'd like to bring up, and I think headers are really important, right? Just so people can also see, like, structure-wise, could you bring up the F function to see them as a list?
Yep.
And they're not any more useful.
Lock on. Numlock off.
And see that, I think.
Heading list dialog.
So I just
Heading list
explain
view.
what this is.
Best sellers
Basically,
in clothing, shoes and
this is a quick way for Joe to basically say, okay, so tell me all the headers on the page, every header one, and then he can go through and see, which ones are heading ones. He can actually filter it out, so he can only see heading ones and go to those sections.
Shop Labor Day deal.
Yep.
So as you saw Joe using these headers, they're great for defining, hey, this is an important area, right? And what's important about Joe's use of that is then he down arrows. It's almost like he enters the header area and then down arrows to get the content. So he finds the headers that he's interested in and then goes into the content. Here's a very interesting point when it comes to how much effort you want to put in, right? So, because a lot of people will probably come here and go, well, I've seen headers listed in WCAG, and you got to make sure headers are in the right order, right? So the right order means that they depict how important they are. So, as you saw, Joe was going through very similar sections. They all were H2, okay, which makes sense, right? They're all at the same importance, right? And that's what it means by making sure headers are correctly assigned, because they're like Joe will be expecting now that every H2 will be the same. It's sort of a group of products that have a number of products underneath, and that's consistency. That's how you create consistency. And that's really powerful for Joe, because now he knows that really Amazon uses H2 for basically groups of products that they've collected and, you know, highlighting as a sort of important group of products. And that's what the H2 consistency gives him, right? You know, a note here, Amazon could actually not use any H's and it would still pass WCAG. Because WCAG doesn't say you have to use headers; it says you have to use headers in the correct way. So some people try to, you know, quote unquote, make their websites accessible by actually deleting headers because they're incorrect. But what they do is create a far worse experience for Joe. But actually, technically, they are accessible because those headers are correctly used because there's none there. I just want to make that point, which is like the effort is worth it. The effort of making sure that you've got good H structures and they're consistent is very useful for someone like Joe.
Escape.
Do we want to go to another website, or do you want?
Yeah, I think now let's go to someone who's like doesn't have $1 billion to run on their website, right? We wanted to sort of highlight state and local government as well, because I think that's an area that is going to get more interest.
Amazon.com.
I think if you want to go, I think we picked out
address and
South Carolina.
SCDMV OLINE period COM enter SCDMV Google SCDMV escape same page link skip to content.
Okay, so I'm on the South Carolina DMV website, and now I'm going to again use headings now as my primary, because that's what we teach students is really, once you understand how tab and arrow navigation, we want to move through a page efficiently. So I'm going to hit H.
Navigation heading level 4.
So it's telling me navigation. So I'm going to
list of 4 items. Link driver, services, link vehicle.
Okay. So it's what I would expect.
How can we help? Welcome to the SCDMV heading level 1. Heading level 1. Welcome to the SCDMV. Search. Search edit. Escape. Virtual.
So there's a search. How can we help?
Search button. Or choose a task : combo box collapsed. I need to ...
Okay, so I could choose a task as well. And
I drive a ... heading level 2.
And then I would expect that there would be different types of vehicles here, possibly.
List of 10 items. Link automobile. Link boat / jet ski. Link camper / trailer / RV. Link commercial truck. Link all - terrain vehicle. Driver services heading level 2 link. Link get information about address changes, receiving a driver's license, getting a placard for a person with a disability, and other driver services.
So again,
if we just stop there, I just wanted to give it like from the people who are watching this, right? Typically, my sort of experience with regard to how good or good is this site is it's quite easy to follow Joe on this journey right now, and because it's easy to follow Joe on this journey, typically means the site's very well done. It's organized well. I think people may have heard that they actually made the top net the sort of the main heading on the H1 on this page is that search, the search area on the main page where you can search for something and you can search for a task, because they've decided that's the most important thing, and visually it's the most important thing, and it's probably the most useful item on that homepage. So they've done a really good job of saying, okay, that's your H1. That's the most important use on this page. And then H2s, now we're down to H2, driving services and vehicle services, right? They're saying important, but if you're just going to start with one, start with the search and the task list. So this is, already shows that they thought about it, they've made decisions about that, in terms of what is the most important, secondary important, and the organization's nice and structured and sounds logical. And I think Joe would agree. Right now, it sounds like something that you're getting what you expect.
Absolutely. What I'm anticipating under each heading is what I'm getting.
So do you want to do it? Because what was interesting about this whole, we were like, Joe, what have you done recently? He goes, well, I've gone to state and local sites, and I've organized driving
Road test.
How
road
can we help?
And
Welcome.
one of our staff said, Joe, why would you want a road test, right? Joe's blind. And he goes, well, I was booking it for my son. So it's very important to realize that, a screen reader user needs services that they might not need for themselves, but they need for family members. So I think it's a very powerful, sort of important message to remember, that it's not necessarily the service that the screen reader might use, but they need to access it for other family members.
Do we want to demo that?
Yeah, I think it's a good demo.
Search edit, search button, or choose a task : combo box collapsed. I need enter, or choose a schedule an appointment. Enter. Schedule a road test.
Okay, so
Schedule. Navigation heading level 4. Schedule a road test heading level 1.
okay, so I'm here on the heading for schedule a road test, and if I down arrow from here,
Regular, non-commercial, and motorcycle license skills testing. All SCDMV branches accept walk-and customers for regular and motorcycle skills tests from 8:30 every day besides Wednesday.
so for expediency, the text is very clear to the screen reader. I'm going to go down.
All branch customers must make a point. Customer if unders link teenage driver before you can book list of 3 bullet regular drivers bullet list and link to schedule a road test.
So I'm going to enter on this and activate this link.
Enter schedule a road test main region link to schedule a road test link main region schedule a road test Google Chrome South Carolina DMV South SCDMV logo graphic.
So
There are no headings.
there are no headings on this website. However,
V-2301 main region.
I'm immediately in the main region. So this tells me maybe this is some sort of overlay, possibly.
Schedule a road test. Group start reCAPTCHA. Link privacy. Link terms. Protected by reCAPTCHA. Group end reCAPTCHA. Regular. Please complete the information below and submit the form to schedule an appointment. SC driver's license number or permit number. South Carolina DMV schedule appointment. Main numlock on. 987123456. Test type automobile left paren class D right paren button
We're going to leave that. We're going to leave the test type as is.
First name edit.
Okay, first name.
J-O-E. Last name edit. D-I-N-E-R-O. Date of birth edit. Invalid 5/05/1968. Email edit. Required blank. Type in ODA at YOPMAIL.com.
I'm going to tab again.
Phone edit. Required blank. Type 12-987-4567.
And I'm going to tab again.
South Carolina DMV schedule appointment. Schedule appointment button.
And I'm going to hit enter on this.
Enter. South customer information provided does not match information on DMV records. Close.
And it just gave me an error message because obviously the information that I provided is invalid. And it told me that focus was on the close button. So if I hit enter on that,
Enter. South SCD.
that should have closed that message.
Yeah, you might want to, if you can, scroll down because actually visually we can't see what that message was.
Main
But
read
that message
schedule
was
a
like, I
group,
know
group
this.
start recaptcha link per group regular. Please complete the information below and submit the SC driver's license.
Well, I'd already hit enter on the close button, so it,
Yeah. So, I mean, again, logical. You're listening to it. It made sense. The orders, the tab orders correct. The form fields made sense. The labels on the form field made sense. So this is a good experience. This is an experience Joe's had an experience, and actually, and when it didn't complete, there was an error message that explained why it didn't complete. This is essentially what Joe wants. It's what every user wants, right? So this is a good example of simplicity, easy layout, not confusing, what you expect, consistency, and an example of a good sort of, let's say, form or application form, which is essentially for scheduling an appointment. Before we get into like sort of closing and Q&A and stuff with Joe, I wanted to show a slightly less wonderful experience, so you can sort of see the difference and sort of understand where mistakes can be made. And if we can go to Joe, like I think we wanted to show like a
Aldi address and
information site,
so
more of a magazine.
MAG.com. Enter New York Magazine Google Chrome. New York Magazine Google Chrome page. New York Magazine. Link graphic advertisement. Unlabeled 1 button.
so I'm just arrowing initially.
To get missing image descriptions, open the context menu.
And it's already telling me that there's an unlabeled image here. So I'm gonna hit headings and start navigating through the headings.
New York visited heading level 1 link graphic.
And
So Joe, if what do you expect that is?
this heading correct, the one that focuses on right now?
Yeah.
Probably a link. Well, let me.
New York visited heading level 1 link.
Because it's a link, I would probably envision that it's a link back to the homepage. It's the kind of the global link back to the homepage.
Okay.
Based
And
on.
I think anyone that's looking at this, but also explain it to people who maybe can't see the presentation. Essentially, that is the sort of masthead for the magazine. He's actually on the homepage. The way that they've labeled it and they've made it a link does make Joe think, oh, actually, I might not be on the homepage. I probably need to go to the homepage. Because actually what this is not really, it shouldn't really be a link. It should just be a header. And is the masthead for the New York Magazine. It's essentially the masthead saying you're on the New York Magazine homepage, right? Not the link to the homepage because you're on the homepage. So that's the first sort of confusing thing for Joe. And then maybe you can carry on, Joe.
Okay. Gonna navigate. I'm gonna go to the next heading.
Sign up for Dinner Party, a celebration of the day's chaos, featuring appearances from New York writers, editors, and critics to tell you what we really think. Heading level 2 link.
So if we stop there, so their next header that they've decided to send Joe to is this sort of like small piece of content that has basically bypassed the headlines, right? The big stories. So they've decided that the big stories are not the next most important thing for Joe to see, Joe to visit. It's a sort of a small piece of content that lets people sign up for some type of dinner party.
Okay. Next heading is
Latest news. Heading level 2.
So it brings me to the latest news. I would anticipate that there would be some kind of news articles under this heading.
Latest news tab selected. Intelligencer tab. Bookcut tab. Intelligencer tab. Latest news tab selected. Heading level 2 latest news.
So under the latest news header, there's multiple tabs.
Latest,
including latest news, but it's like a little confusing why there would be multiple tabs there under a heading specifically for the latest news.
So if we carry on headers, we'll come back to that. If you carry
All
on.
top stories heading level 2.
Some more top stories.
Fall preview 2024. Link Garth Greenwell's Grand Romance. The author explores the tender side of long-term partnership.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next heading.
In our latest issue heading level 2. Link Charlie XCX is too bad to fail.
Next heading.
Ad removed. Details heading level 1 link.
And it says ad removed.
Heading level 1 ad removed. Heading level 1 link details.
I'm not really sure why it's reading that.
This ad used too many resources for your device, so Chrome removed it.
Okay.
Stories readers liked heading level 2. List of 3 items. Crime. Link The Shame of St. Anne's. How did a Brooklyn private school fall for an accused predator? By Caitlin Muscatello and James D. Walsh.
And you're just using headers right now to navigate, right?
Well, I'm going under a couple of arrowing under.
Okay.
Intelligencer heading level 2 link.
So now I'm doing heading again, Intelligencer.
The Robbie Starbuck attacks on day aren't working heading level 2 link. The cut heading level 2 link. 23 best but plugs you can buy online heading level 2 link. Vulture heading level 2
We're going
link.
to stop there. I mean, so for people who are visually looking at this, right, they decided to put headers that don't really match how you sort of would scan their physical website or their actual newspaper, right? They've duplicated headers in subsections, so it's not Joe's not hearing a header and then 4 or 5 articles under that section. He's actually hearing 2 headers. One is the header title, the section title, and the other is the first news story in that section. So it's not consistent, and it's sort of confusing to listen to Joe use the website. So it's probably pretty confusing for Joe. There's another thing here around content and stuff. They obviously, this magazine has got like a lot of different types of sections that it's very proud of, like Vulture and other types of cool names for sections, but doesn't do a great job of explaining what those are unless you know what they are. It probably doesn't do a good job for anybody, to be honest, but it definitely doesn't give a good job to Joe. So as soon as he starts to get confused, he probably just feels like most of this is not that well structured or well used, and it becomes quite frustrating for him. And and all of these headers so far, we've never heard the sort of the main sections of like how what the magazine's made up of. So it's hard for him to get into sections that he wants to get into by using the most common ways for him to navigate. Was there anything else you'd like to add there, Joe?
No, it's a confusing website, so that I can't kind of get my feet under me, if you will, of getting a handle on what's going on there. And it would quite honestly, if I didn't really, I would look at other sources and kind of walk away from this if this was going to be the experience. And unless I really needed to find something on this website, I would probably close the website out.
Yeah. So let's just move on quickly. Closing takeaways, because I want to leave 15 minutes for people to ask Joe specific questions, because I always know that there's great questions.
Was profession screen sharing me alt
and then we're going to go back to Bethany. And I don't want to labor too much on these key takeaways, but I believe most people who have been on this and watching and listening, for Joe and for anyone using a website, it's logical structure, it's consistency, which is really important. clarity, trying to keep everything simple. These are all the sort of underlying principles of not just accessibility but usability. So we advocate that for you to generate the best usable site, if you start with the foundation of accessibility, and make things clear, consistent, robust, you're building a foundation for usability. And essentially, hopefully this has helped you understand how those key things like tabs and tab order and headers are used by Joe as sort of what our class is anchor points, right? That's sort of, how does he anchor himself in that website to know what's going on so he can progress from point A to point B and be successful. And this for me is sort of like how you grasp the importance of accessibility, grasp the importance of the technical side, because really it's about supporting people's ability to be successful on the site. So with those key takeaways, I wanted to progress. Bethany, maybe you can start pulling out questions specifically for Joe, because obviously we don't have him on a regular basis.
For accessibility testing, do JAWS and NVDA vary greatly, and does it matter which you are using?
The variation is in how sometimes NVDA and JAWS reads some of the elements, but if the websites again are designed well, there really shouldn't be any major difference between the two screen readers. The screen reader is going to ultimately read the label of a button or an edit field or a link, kind of the same. There's some slight variations, but not really too much.
Yeah, my practical input on that, and Joe and I have talked about this a lot in the past, because we recruit people and have within his team, quote unquote, what we class as what's a great user tester profile, right? So someone that you could come in and have doing user. They don't need to be developer experts. They don't need to know WCAG. What we typically look for is someone who uses a screen reader on a daily basis and uses websites very similar to the one that we want them to give us feedback on. They don't have to be a super pro user, but they need to be a confident web user or mobile user on a daily basis, and we're asking them to give us feedback on a type of site that they would typically use. So if they've never used an airline site to do booking, you don't really want to ask someone who's never used an airline site to test it with a screen reader, because they're going to struggle with the concept of it more than the actual accessibility of it.
Would you say that tabbing is your primary method of moving through a site? And are there other methods that you would describe as a secondary method?
No. Tabbing is probably secondary to heading navigation. Typically, when I go to a website, I want to kind of see what the heading structure is like and how the website is laid out first, and then I will move to arrowing and tabbing through. So I will go back, I'll look at, depending on how many headings there are on a website, I'll look at 8 to 10 of them on the page if there are that many, and then move back up to the top of the page and then navigate using tab and arrows to kind of establish what is the navigation menu, the navigation region looking like, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll just add that from a practical point of view, because I've seen Joe do this a lot, right? It will depend on the website itself. So for example, if you go to an e-commerce site and Joe starts listening to headers and he doesn't quickly find top level navigation, right, which he knows pretty much there probably is a top level navigation, he will quickly go back to the top and start tabbing if it hasn't been defined as a header, right? So, it's logical. It's almost like he's going there, he's expecting that the first header he hears is main navigation with 7 elements, right? If he doesn't hear that straight away, he's probably going to be thinking, okay, well, they didn't make a header for the navigation. I'll go back up to the top and use tab. Is that a good paraphrase, Joe?
Yeah.
How does using a screen reader on desktop to mobile differ, if at all, for you when you are navigating a site?
How does it,
Yeah, how is like navigating on desktop versus mobile different? Like, do you do it differently if it's on your phone? I think is the question.
so on mobile, you're swiping through the elements, so that I guess the behavior is a little bit different in that, like it behaves kind of like tabbing, but on the desktop, if I tab, I'm not going to see any static text on the website. So I'm not gonna, under a heading, if there's like a whole, like an article that's written, I'm not gonna be able to tab through that article. Whereas on the mobile platform, that is the way I'm going to be able to read, is continue to swipe through. So it sort of treats it like, the static text like an element.
If there was one common issue that you encounter when you are on various sites, what would that be? And common things that we can all maybe watch for and correct.
I don't know if there's a common issue that really comes up, but uh, the most important thing to me is the interactive elements, my ability to interact. Am I able to activate a link? Am I able to, if I'm checking out from an e-commerce site, am I able to complete that transaction by being able to interact with all the elements? That's going to be a critical component. Things like alt text and headings, they're important, um, but they're sort of the easy things. It's kind of the low-hanging fruit to fix. The real stuff that's really critical to me is my ability to actually interact and use the website and the functionality of the website.
Can you describe how you get to the heading structure again?
How I navigate by heading?
I think I think maybe you describe a little bit about quick keys that you have on your screen reader and what each one of them can do for you.
Yeah, so when we're in a browser, JAWS has a thing called the virtual PC cursor that allows me to use other keyboard commands. So for example, if I hit the letter H when I'm in a browser on a website, that will take me to the next heading that's on the page. And I can just continue to hit H, and that will navigate me through all the headings that are on the page. I also have the ability with other quick keys to navigate by particular heading level. So I can navigate just by the level 2 headings, the level 3 headings, etc.
And you said the other ways you might do that is also like, if you've come to a page and it's probably got a form, right? Rather than try to just go to the first form field, right? You can go to the first form field on the page with a quick key, right?
Yep, you can hit the letter F and that'll take you to the first form field that's on the page.
Yeah, so there's in those screen reader, JAWS has been around a long time. They developed, ways for their users to, quickly get around a page based on some assumptions, right? So, and the header's a good example. I think we also showed you where Joe has a quick key to bring up a little interface that lists all the headers, so we can actually listen to them, in a list form, or as Joe says, only listen to H2s, for example.
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close today's session. Thank you.